Hello, Robert speaking.
Hello, good morning, Robert. This is one of the elders from the local Jehovah's Witness congregation. You sent an inquiry,
Yes.
and so we just wanted to contact you and just thank you very much for your inquiry and just to see how we could help you, really.
Thank you for getting back to me. Yes, I had trouble getting through to the congregation. I actually tried a few. Which one are you, if I could ask? Which congregation?
Well, there's just two congregations in Halifax now. There's Halifax North and Halifax South, and we're in Halifax North.
Halifax North. Yes, I remember leaving a message. Thank you. Did you have more congregations at one time? Have you?
Yeah, well, there was three congregations initially. There's one in King Cross, which
Yes.
um, is not there anymore, and we had a bit of a division of all the brothers and sisters who come to the Kingdom Hall, and some are now in Selby Bridge, and then
Ah,
there are the two that meet in Boothtown at the new Kingdom Hall.
right. Okay. So, are you declining in size or are you increasing in size?
Oh, we're very much increasing in
Right.
size.
Even though you've gone from three to two congregations. Okay, I get it. Okay, thank you. Lesson 24 of Enjoy Life Forever is the one that really puzzles me. What is the truth about angels? It's on page 99, lesson 24.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
it's okay. What was your inquiry about in regard to the angels?
Well, it's paragraph 3, but I'm going to have to read it to ask my question.
Okay, that's fine.
Because if we read it, we can, get the sort of context. Do you want to read it or shall I?
Um, yeah, we can read it. There are two of us here. I've got
Yes?
I've got one of the other elders. Kevin's with us, so maybe Kevin could just read that for us.
Yes?
Hi, Robert.
Hello. Pleased to
Yeah,
meet you.
and you as well. Yeah. Okay. So paragraph 3, starts with the question: how do Satan and the demons try to mislead us? Satan and the demons mislead many people through demonism or spiritism, which is the bad practice of trying to communicate with spirits. For example, some people consult astrologers, fortune tellers, psychics, and witch doctors. Others seek forms of medical treatment that involve spiritism. People are also tricked into believing that they can speak to the dead. But Jehovah warns us, do not turn to the spirit mediums and do not consult fortune tellers. It then quotes Leviticus 19:31,
Mm-hmm.
where that scripture is taken from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Bible-based direction. He gives us this warning to protect us from Satan and the demons. They are God's enemies and they want to harm us. So that's what the paragraph says.
Yes. This seems to be quite a strict prohibition. It seems to be saying in your book that any involvement with spirit mediums or the occult or people who use Ouija boards or seances, because that's what it's talking about, isn't it? That these practices, the book seems to be saying that these practices are wrong. Would that be right?
Well, the thing is about the devil, he's completely opposed to God, and because of that, everything that he does, everything that he promotes, is basically anti-God. So that's why the Bible gives this warning that so many people over so many centuries, thousands of years in fact, have been misled by Satan. I mean, look back at Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and how Satan lied about God and caused them to sin, and so many other instances over the centuries where Satan's done exactly the same. So Jehovah really is saying to us, just be warned that you don't get involved in any satanic kind of worship, because it will mislead you and it won't lead you
Right.
to the truth.
Right. This satanic worship, would that include the use of the Ouija board and the use of seances and automatic writing and trying to contact the spirits?
It would, yes.
One thing that puzzles me, which I don't quite understand, is when I went on jw.org, you go to the Bible section, it mentions the Kingdom Interlinear Translation. You're familiar with that?
I am familiar with that. So that's we've had that. I remember that in the 1950s. Yeah.
Well, that was a different edition. It was actually the 1960s. The purple edition was released in 1969. I've never been a Jehovah's Witness, but I've been studying on your website for many, many months. You currently use the blue Kingdom Interlinear Translation, not the purple.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the blue one, the current one, Appendix 2A, on page 1139, when it's trying to give support for the translation rendering of John 1:1, it quotes the Monotesauron, written by John S. Thompson. Well, I'm kind of shocked. John S. Thompson did say on page 13 of the Monotesauron, and I managed to find a PDF version of it. I don't actually have a paper copy of it. But John S. Thompson on page 13 of the Monotesauron does say that at John 1 the word was a God. But he got that from the spirit world. The spirits told him that John 1:1 was mistranslated. All the Bible scholars, in the... because the Monotesauron was written about 200 years ago. But, the King James Bible and the other Bibles which say, and the word was God, that's wrong, because the spirits told John S. Thompson, who was a spiritist, that it should read a God. And I'm staggered. Why is the Watchtower quoting a spiritist like John S. Thompson?
Well, the answer to your question, Robert, is I haven't got a clue. Obviously, I've got to say it's a long time since I've looked at the Kingdom Interlinear, and that particular reference that you're referring to, I would obviously have to do some research myself, and I just haven't got a clue how to answer your question. I would have to do some research.
Yes.
and come back to you and find out the reasoning why, because
Yes.
I've got no idea. But all that I do know is that the Bible warns us about Satan, and as far as I know, don't forget that the Kingdom Interlinear was not a publication of Jehovah's Witnesses. It was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it is. It's an official publication of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it was actually purchased by us, so we could do the...
No, it wasn't. You're getting confused with the emphatic diaglot, which was made by Benjamin Wilson, who's a Christadelphian. But the Kingdom Interlinear Translation was published, the purple edition, in 1969 by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. It's an official Watchtower publication. And the blue edition was published in 1985. It's a slight revision. I think you're confusing that with the emphatic diaglot, which is another interlinear translation produced, I think, by Benjamin Wilson, I think he was called. He was a Christadelphian.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like I said earlier,
Yeah.
It's so many years since I've had a look at the interlinear or the diaglot that I just got confused with that one. Yeah,
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Is there any scholarly support for the New World Translation? Who are the scholars who've worked on the translation? Could you name them for me? And name their academic credentials?
Yeah, but I couldn't just do that off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I would have to, again, do a little research and come back to you. And, there definitely was scholars who looked into it, men who were really familiar with the Greek.
Sorry, which men? Which men? Could you name them?
Well, like I say, because you only just mentioned it now, and I've not been able to do any research and look back myself, no, I cannot name them today, no.
Well, you've just made an emphatic statement. You said that the men who worked on the new translation were, I forget the exact words you used, but they were experts in the Greek or knowledgeable of the Greek. And I said, name them, and you said you can't. Well, perhaps you shouldn't have made that statement if you can't prove it.
Well, I think, I've been a Jehovah's Witness now since I was 12, and I'm now 80 years old. So
yes, sir.
Things have been proved to me over the years, and I am absolutely and totally convinced that the New World Translation is the finest Bible that we can get. It's been researched and researched and researched, and I'm convinced that it absolutely has the truth. But the detail of the translators, I'm sorry, but that kind of information I've just not retained. But I've been convinced myself over the years that it really is a reliable translation. So,
can you give me one example? Give me one example of where the New World Translation is the best translation and superior to other translations. Just one. Don't give me many. Just give me one piece of evidence.
Well, for example, the King James Version.
Yeah.
There are a number of verses in the King James Version which are spurious. And, other people have confirmed that as well. I mean, for example, the New English Bible.
No, could you please talk about you said the New World Translation was the best translation. Could you give me just one piece of evidence? Probably refer me to one passage of the New World Translation where it differs from other Bibles, and explain to me why the New World Translation is the best translation.
I can just interject here, Kevin, again.
Yes,
Robert.
Yes, sir.
Because I basically, like Tony, am convinced that, for example, comparing the New World Translation to other Bibles.
Right, do so. Give me one example. Don't talk in vague terms. I could say to you, look, how would you feel if somebody came up to you and said, "Hello, sir, I'm from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Your religion is wrong. Your New World Translation is wrong. Your Watchtower is wrong. But my religion is the true religion. I have lots of evidence to support that, sir." That is an air burrito, because no statement has been made. It's just a generalized claim that's unsubstantiated. What I'm asking you is to give me one piece of evidence. Just I've got my Bible. It's open beside me. Where do I go to? Show me where the New World Translation in one place is better than the other Bibles.
The answer I was going to give you is basically that's not just one example, but probably more than 7,000.
I don't want lots of examples. Just give me one.
Well, I'm just going to give you the example of. I mean, obviously, you've had a chance to do a lot of research, and you're very well prepared for this call. And I doubt that we're not the only people that you're speaking to. But just the example of perhaps restoring God's name as it appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls, that God's name has been returned to the Bible. Jehovah.
I have no problem whatsoever with the word YHWH, the Tetragrammaton, being inserted into the Old Testament. No problem with that at all. And if that is translated as Yahweh, again, I have no problem with that. Jehovah, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that either, although Yahweh would be more accurate. But yes, I've no problem with that at all. But other Bibles, such as the Jerusalem Bible, have inserted Yahweh thousands of times into the Old Testament. So the New World Translation just reads roughly the same as the Jerusalem Bible published by the Roman Catholic Church.
So can I just ask, obviously you're digging very deep in questions, and we'd love to come and pay you a visit and spend some time having a discussion more with you. Are you local to us?
No, I'm quite some way to the south, but I prefer to speak on the phone or on Zoom. I can speak on Zoom if you want to. I'm not too pretty to look at, but if you need to look at me, I can speak on Zoom.
So are you sort of like doing a call round to all the congregations then to get an answer to your questions? Is that...
I'm trying to understand. I do one thing at a time. At the moment, I'm really looking at... I mean, it's not just John S. Thompson. I will leave the New World Translation because you weren't able to give me one piece of evidence that the New World Translation is better than the other Bibles. For instance, just about 90 years ago, about 100 years after John S. Thompson, there was somebody else, a defrocked Roman Catholic priest called Johannes Grieber. Now, he married a woman who was a spiritist, obviously after he was defrocked by the Roman Catholic Church. And he's an unusual guy because he and his wife contacted spirits and seances, and then they bought themselves a Ouija board, and they asked the spirits to translate the Bible for them. And Grieber's New Testament is not actually a Bible. I should have said Grieber's New Testament is the only New Testament translated by spirits through the Ouija board. Now, the Watchtower quoted Grieber for 40 years. No, sorry, 20 years. From the mid-1950s, the earliest example I found on jw.org is the 15th of February 1956, page 111. But Grieber's also referenced because the spirits told Grieber that John 1:1 should read the word was a God. So the Watchtower quotes Grieber in the Aid to Bible Understanding, page 1134 and 1669. There are many other instances of the Watchtower quoting Grieber from the mid-50s to the mid-70s, 20 years, not 40. I can't add up. The word who is he, according to John, on page 5, also mentions Grieber in support of the Grieber translation that the word was a God. Well, Grieber was a spiritist. I even bought his book, Communication with the Spirit World of God, which he goes into the whole background of, how he contacted the spirits through seances. And there was a young boy, they put a pen in his hand, the boy went into a trance, and then the boy did automatic writing. That became part of Grieber's Bible. And then eventually Grieber and his wife, they got a Ouija board and they contacted the spirits. And the whole of his Bible is whole of his New Testament is unbelievable. Especially if you read 1 Corinthians 12 to 14. It's all about contacting spirits and how God approves of this. And Grieber got revelations from the Spirit, as John S. Thompson did, that are the same teachings that the Watchtower is teaching, namely that John 1:1 should read and the word was a God. So I'm kind of puzzled at this. Why is the Watchtower using spiritists to back up its translation?
Yeah, there are many things that have, I think there's a scripture that talks about that, the light of the truth gets brighter and brighter, and many things change over the years, and obviously these are quite old references. Can I just ask, what religious denomination are you?
I don't go to any denomination. I used to go to an evangelical church many years ago, to a Baptist and then a Pentecostal church, and I gave up about 15, 16 years ago, never to go back. Okay. So you still believe in what the Bible teaches? Do you still have a reference do you have a belief in God? Yes, absolutely. I just don't believe in Pastor Billy Bob, and I don't want to listen to Pastor Billy Bob. I prefer to, pick up the Bible and read it for myself. I obviously don't get everything right. I do make mistakes. And there are, I readily admit there are Christian people out there who are 1,000 times more knowledgeable than I am or will ever be. Unfortunately, where I live, which is in Plymouth, I don't know of anyone. I mean, all I see is total apostasy around me. And I've been hurt so often, time and time and time again. If I go to any church, I'm just going to be hurt. I'm going to be lied to, I'm going to be hurt. And the last time I went to church, I actually ended up in prison. I went to prison for 28 days because I wouldn't back down concerning, for legal reasons, I can't mention what was done by church leaders, but they were preaching strict holiness, it is a sin to fornicate. You are a sinner who will go to hell if you think of one sexual thought. But these church leaders, that's all I can really say. And I wouldn't back down. They reported me to police, and I went to prison.
Yeah. Robert,
so I'm finished with it.
Can I just mention this? Since you've been speaking, I've been able to think, and somewhere in the back of my mind, these one or two little thoughts have come to mind. The New World Translation used Westcott and Hort.
Yeah.
In regard to the translation of the New World Translation, and I know that they were used quite considerably. But I was just thinking of one text. You asked for one text,
yes.
And so obviously you've prepared for this conversation where
Well, we're going all over the shop. I never realised you were going to mention the word Jehovah being in the New World Translation, so I haven't prepared for that because I didn't know the conversation would go in that direction. But that's fine. If you raise a point, I will do my best to answer it. If I can't, then I will try to be honest with you and say I don't know how to answer that, and I will get back to you, sir.
Yeah, well, just one little text just to mention. You mentioned John 1:1, because we accept that Jesus was a God, but Jesus never ever said that he was Jehovah. And just another text is 1 John 5 and verse 7.
That's not part of the. There's no Greek support for what's called the Johann comma, which is 1 John 5:7. So I believe when they did the King James Bible, it's a long story behind that. Erasmus, who was writing the Greek text in the early 1500s, he produced a Greek text. It didn't have 1 John 5:7 in it. And there was a big disagreement with the Catholic Church and the Catholic Pope, who said, this is disgraceful. You haven't got 1 John 5:7 in your in your Greek text, Mr. Erasmus. So Erasmus said, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you can show me one Greek manuscript with 1 John 5:7 in it, then I'll include it in the next edition of my Greek New Testament. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, in Dublin, this document miraculously appeared. Probably the ink was still wet, because it was probably produced then and there on the orders of the Pope. And it had 1 John 5:7 in it. Now, I forget the name of that document, but apparently if you open it up, it opens up automatically to 1 John 5:7, because that's where everyone goes. It is an extremely late document. I'm not a textual scholar, but this isn't a document from the 3rd or 4th century. It's probably from around the time of Erasmus. So there's no historical proof for 1 John 5:7, and many of the
doesn't include 1 John 5:7.
Sorry.
The King James version of the Bible.
The King James includes 1 John 5:7 because Erasmus very reluctantly then included 1 John 5:7 and the later editions of his Greek text because of this manuscript that was found in, I think it was Dublin, or that's where the document is now. That then found its way into the other Bibles, such as I think the Bishop's Bible, and then certainly the King James. If you go to modern Bibles such as the ESV, the NIV, the New American Standard Version, they don't have it in the text. And whoops, I turned to Revelation, not to 1 John. I've got the New King James in front of me. I've turned to 1 John 5:7. The marginal note says, NU, which means Nestle's text, M, admit the rest of verse 7, and through on earth of verse 8. A passage found in Greek in only 4 or 5 very late manuscripts. Now, these other manuscripts, it's written in the margin. And of course, if it's written in the margin, it could have been written centuries after those documents were written to make them comply with Roman Catholic tradition. So I've got the New King James Version in front of me, and the marginal note even says in the New King James Bible, 1 John 5:7, that this verse has little textual support in the Greek. I mean, there is literally no support in the Greek for this verse, although strangely it is quoted in early church fathers. So early church fathers referred to 1 John 5:7, but it's not in the Greek text. So my position is that there's no textual support for this verse. So it's a non-argument. It's just a non-argument between us, because the NIV, the New American Standard Version, doesn't include this verse, and even my New King James Version says that there's no textual support for this verse. It says that in the marginal note.
I'm really pleased that we agree on that. However, the point is that just shows that there were times when people tried to put into the scriptures things that actually were false to try and push their own views forward. So that's why we believe the New World Translation is so good, in that it's...
Don't know what happened there. We seem to have lost each other. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. I think we lost each other there. You say that the New World Translation is so good.
Yes.
One thing that puzzles me, and again I'm referring to the Kingdom Interlinear Translation, would be Colossians 1:16.
Well, again, I'll have a look at the scripture, but we've not prepared to, even have a consideration about this, but I'll just have a look.
Yeah, sure. Well, very, very briefly, I'm reading from the New King James, and I agree the New King James is not always the most accurate. I love the beauty of the Old English language, which has been slightly modified, but textually, I would believe that some of the more modern Bibles perhaps are more accurate in places, and I think there's areas where all of these Bibles could be improved. Now, Colossians 1:16 says, "For by him all things were created, that are in heavens and that are on earth, visible and invisible, were thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created through him and for him." That's Christ. So Christ is the creator. The New World Translation put the word other as an insertion in brackets into your early New World Translation, the green New World Translations of about 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but now in your 2013 Silver Revision, the brackets have been taken off, and I'm working from memory that your Bible, well, perhaps you have one in front of you. Doesn't it say, "For by him all other things were created"?
Because by means of him all other things were created in the heavens and on the earth, the things visible, the things invisible, whether they are thrones or lordships or governments or authorities, all other things have been created through him and for him.
Right. The word other is not in the Greek text. If you go to the Kingdom Interlinear Translation, either the purple or the blue, you will find that the word other, which is a loss in Greek, is not in the Greek text. It's a dishonest insertion of the word other into Colossians 1:16 to imply that Christ is a thing. And he's not. Christ has two natures. He's fully man and he's fully God. And I can prove that Christ said he is Yahweh God, because you said Christ never said that. But let's deal with Colossians 1:16 first. "For by him all things were created." That's what the Greek says. That's what my New King James Version says. That's what all the modern Bibles say. NIV, New American Standard Version, which are written by scholars. But your New World Translation, which is not written by scholars, you had not one scholar working on. I don't know about the 2013 revision who did that, but the 1950 edition, it's proven that the head translator, Fred W. Franz, he went to court and he was asked to translate a passage of the Bible from Hebrew into English, and he said he couldn't do that because he doesn't speak Hebrew.
Robert, can I just ask you, do you think that there is a translation of the Bible that is actually accurate?
Yes, I think the Greek and the Hebrew.
Yeah.
They're not translations. That is the Bible, the Greek and Hebrew text. And when you translate, in certain passages, you have choices as to how you can translate. And there's decisions which have to be made. And there's, for a book that's over 1,000 pages, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of decisions or tens of thousands of decisions as to how words are translated. And obviously,
and I agree with that.
It's going to be very difficult. But what I can say with certainty is the word other, a loss in Greek, if you go to the Kingdom Interlinear Translation, It does not appear in the Greek text at Colossians 1:16. The New World Translation is dishonest to say, for by him all other things were created, because the word other is not in the Greek text.
Okay, so can I just going back to the overall theme of the Bible regarding God's kingdom and Jesus returning and setting up a paradise?
That's a deflection. You're just deflecting. I made a statement about Colossians 1:16. Could you respond to that? Or just tell me honestly, look, I don't want to discuss that, Robert. But to talk about the kingdom is a whole different topic.
No, it's related in as much as that you've referenced the Greek and the Hebrew being the original translations.
No, they're not translations. They're original language.
Original language,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering I'm just wondering how the good news of the kingdom can be preached in all the inhabited earth correctly when people don't really read Hebrew and Greek. So there has to be a translation.
Because we work from translations. Because I'm not clever enough to. I did try the Greek, and I even sat in a few Hebrew classes. And I'm afraid I'm not clever enough to do it. That's the honest truth. I obviously picked up a little bit of Greek. But when I was at university, I thought, well, I'll take some classes in Greek, and it was too complicated for me. I had to drop out. I tried it. I was at university for 4 years, and I tried it every year and dropped out every year. So I never got the university credits in Greek.
So what do you think is the best translation that we here in England can use so that people can get the truth of what the Bible teaches in English?
Well, I think that there's several of them that are fairly good. I think the New American Standard is pretty good. The ESV is pretty good. I like the New King James, although I might not agree with every single passage, the way that it has been translated, and it goes from a different text. It doesn't go from the Nestle's text, which I believe is referenced by the numbers. By the letters NU. When you see NU in the margin, that's a reference, I believe, to the Nestle's text. And I think they're up to Nestle's text 29th edition.
So do these ones you've mentioned, do they have God's name, Jehovah, in all the appeared in the original text? Not familiar with them, I'm sorry.
The Jerusalem Bible does.
Jerusalem, yeah, it has the YHW, yeah, and does it have the yeah, okay, so it has
I think it uses the word Yahweh rather than Jehovah, but I'm happy with either in the Old Testament. I've no problem with that at all.
Does it have the New Testament in it?
Pardon?
Does it have the New Testament in it?
Well, it's a Bible, so it probably does.
I've got the Jerusalem Bible.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I think I do have to mention would be that, again, on jw.org, your 1973 yearbook, page 133 to 135, mentions a trial that Fred W. Franz attended in Scotland. It was called the Douglas Walsh trial. It took place in Scotland in 1954. Douglas Walsh was a Jehovah's Witness. He refused to do his military conscription. He refused to be conscripted into the British Army, and so he went on trial. And Fred Franz, who became president in 1977, Fred Franz admitted in court that he was the head translator of the New World Translation. Fred W. Franz flew to Scotland to defend him in court as a witness. Now, if you look at the court transcript, and I've got a copy of the court transcript, I actually bought it. Fred W. Franz on page 7 claims that he speaks Hebrew. Right? I'd have to actually go there to read it to you. The prosecution barrister names many European languages, and he said, "Do you speak these languages?" And Fred W. Franz said yes, and it included Greek, Hebrew, and Latin. And Franz answered yes. Now, here's the problem. On page 102 of the court transcript, the prosecution barrister handed Franz an English Bible. We don't know which one. The New World Translation, Old Testament, hadn't been published, so it's probably a King James Bible, which is the one they tend to use in British courts. And the prosecution barrister asked Mr. France, would you please translate Genesis chapter 2 verse 4, which of course you'll probably know is the first verse in the Bible that uses the word Jehovah or Yahweh. Could you please translate this entire verse aloud for the court from English into Hebrew? And Franz said on page 102 to 103 of the court transcript, I couldn't possibly do that. So he's the head translator. There was a 5-man committee that produced the New World Translation in 1950 and then the whole Bible in 1960. Franz was the head of that translation committee. There was Schroeder was on it. Ganges was on it. Ganges or Ganges. He was a Greek national, so he spoke modern Greek. And there was Nathan Homanor, the president, who was on it. And there was one other person who I forget. But Franz was the head of the translation committee. Possibly because Franz had done 1 year of some sort of Bible study or some sort of Bible work at the University of Cincinnati, I believe it was, from 1913 to 1914. And then he dropped out of university after approximately a year and became they weren't called Jehovah's Witnesses, they were called Bible students. He became a Bible student. Now, Franz...
So I understand what you're saying, but obviously...
Yeah, but Franz didn't know Hebrew. He was the head translator. He admitted in court that he was working on this translation of the New World Translation. He was on the New World Translation Committee. He was the head of the committee. And so they tested him in court. Let me read it to you. Prosecution barrister says,
there's no need to, Robert. Honestly,
no,
look,
we accept what you say.
we accept it. Yeah, there's no need to.
But I don't think we're actually getting anywhere with this discussion. I'm trying in, because like I've been a witness a long time. And
yes.
In the back of my mind, I know that there was a committee who looked over the translation of the New World Translation, but I've been thinking about it ever since we've been speaking. They definitely used Westcott and Hort.
Yes, but they couldn't use Westcott and Hort because Westcott and Hort is a Greek Bible. It's written in Greek. Today, scholars tend to prefer the Nestle's text, which again, in the margin of my New King James Bible, is NU in capitals. That means Nestle's text. I think they're up to the 29th edition.
Okay, well,
right.
Can I just say this, Robert, because
but they couldn't, because none of them spoke Greek. They didn't speak Greek. They didn't speak Hebrew. The men who worked on the New World Translation, Greek Scriptures 1950 and the whole Bible 1960s, all of the 5 men were uneducated with no knowledge of Greek and Hebrew. All they simply did was take a variety of English Bibles, such as the Grieber New Testament, and they just basically plagiarized from existing Bibles, but made changes to accord with Jehovah's Witness doctrine.
So Robert, can I just ask, are you actually saying then that the New World Translation is not a credible Bible translation? Is that what you're trying to get over?
Yes, I've seen a video. It's available on YouTube of the scholar Manti, who was one of the world's top biblical scholars when he was living. I think he even might have been quoted by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And he's on video holding, it's an old grainy video from the 1970s. So the picture quality is not too good, but he's holding a copy of the New World Translation. He says it's a dreadful translation. And this is one of the world's top Bible translators. He said it's absolutely amateurish. It's produced by amateurs. It's riddled with errors.
Okay.
And he's one of the top scholars.
The thing is, that's obviously his opinion, and we accept that people have lots of different opinions. But sadly, we're going to have to go now because we're meeting other people at 11:15. So thank you ever so much for your discussion. I would just encourage you to continue looking into Jehovah's Witnesses, the kind of people we are. We don't pick and choose in the Bible. We believe that the whole Bible is the Word of God. We believe all of it is a letter to His precious sons and daughters to help us to live the way He wants us to live and conduct ourselves in the way that God wants us to live. And so because of that, we stick closely to the Bible. We follow it word for word.
This seems a bit of a sales talk. This seems to be a little bit of a sales talk, sir.
It's no sales talk. It's just saying that's the kind of people that we are. And, the impression is that, you're trying to discredit the New World Translation. And maybe
I'm doing a very good job. I'm doing a very good job. Could you name one scholar with a PhD in Greek or Hebrew who approves of the New World Translation? Could you name one scholar throughout the whole world who thinks it's a good translation?
Off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but I can't do
right.
that.
No. I can quote William Barclay. He's dead now. He's been dead for many years. He was a professor of New Testament, I believe. He was a very famous professor from Scotland. Now, I forget if he was living in Glasgow. I got a letter from him dated the 22nd of August 1977, written to another scholar, Dr. Donald Shoemaker, at Biola College. And William Barclay, who was one of the main, one of the biggest scholars of the Bible, of New Testament text in the 1970s, he was quoted in the Watchtower, and he complains in this letter that he's been misquoted by the Watchtower. He probably doesn't have the millions of dollars necessary to take the Watchtower to court and get them to retract the stuff. But he condemns the Watchtower.
Okay, so can we?
And he's one of the world's top scholars.
Robert, we do have to go now. So I just really appreciate your call and bringing out these facts to us. But as Tony said, on the whole, there are not many people go from door to door trying to encourage people to look to God's word, and we're quite happy with the translation that we have, and we do believe it is accurate.
But is Jehovah happy with the translation? But the question is Jehovah happy with the New World Translation? Does Jehovah think it's accurate?
We believe
he does.
We believe he does. Yeah.
Can you give me evidence for that?
We're going to. We said we're going to have to meet somebody now.
All right. Well, thank you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Here is the William Barclay letter. Now, I forget if he was a professor at Glasgow or Edinburgh University, but he was one of the world's top New Testament scholars in the 1970s, and of course he died many, many years ago. He writes, 22nd of August 1977, Dear Professor Shoemaker, thank you for your letter of August the 11th. The Watchtower article, because Barclay was quoted in the Watchtower, has by judicious cutting made me say the opposite of what I meant to say. What I was meaning to say, as you will know, is that Jesus is not the same as God. To put it more crudely, that he is of the same stuff as God, that he is of the same being as God, but the way the Watchtower has printed my stuff has simply left the conclusion that Jesus is not God in a way that suits themselves. If they missed, I can't read the word, from their answer, the translation of Kenneth Wurst, and the NEB, they missed the whole point. It was good of you to write, and I don't think I need to say anything more to make my position clear. With every good wish, yours sincerely, William Barclay, who was misquoted in the Watchtower in the 1970s, and who was one of the world's top scholars, and who has said that the Watchtower has misquoted him. Thank you.